friends, welcome to my notebook. So this is our part 2 of the chief national activities. So we have already studied about the Home Rule movement, which was in 1916 and it was started by Balagangadhara Tilak in April 1916 at Pune. And Annie Besant also started, Annie Besant and S.N. Subramani Iyer they started the Home Rule movement at Adaya in September 1916. Okay, so the main objective was self-government for India in the British Empire. So India ഒരു സെൽഫ് ഗവൺമെൻറ് വേണം എന്നുള്ളതായിരുന്നു അവരുടെ മെയിൻ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, മെയിൻ എയിം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So ഈ ഹോം റൂൾ മൂവ്മെൻറ്റിന് Tilak supported and joined Annie Besant, and he made the slogan Swaraj is my birthright. Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Next is the Lucknow Pact. The Lucknow Pact was in 1916. It is a pact between International Congress and the Muslim League. Okay, so there was a pact between the International Congress and the Muslim League in 1916, and that was called Lucknow Pact. Okay, and this pact was after the war between Britain and Turkey. Then there was the August Declaration in 1917. Okay, so you need to remember the date, the year, especially August Declaration in 1917. It was in August. Okay, so the declaration was like this: increasing association of Indians in every branch of the administration for progressive realization of responsible government in India as an integral part of the British Empire. So, based on the August Declaration, the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms came into act, or the Act of 1919. The Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms Act, or 1919 Act. So, next comes the Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act was made in 18 March 1919. 18th March Rowlatt Act vanada, and it is actually that explains the powers to government to arrest and imprison suspects without trial. So actually the Rowlatt Act gave powers to the government to arrest and imprison the suspect without any trial. ഒരു വാദപ്രതിവാദങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു വിസ്താരണയില്ലാതെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വിചാരണയില്ലാതെ ആരെയും അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാനും ജയിലിൽ അടയ്ക്കാനുമുള്ള പവർ ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിന് കൊടുത്ത ഒരു ആക്റ്റാണ് റൗലറ്റ് ആക്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് എനേബിൾ ദ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ടു സസ്പെൻഡ് ദ റൈറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഹേബിയസ് കോർപ്പസ് ഓൾസോ. ഇപ്പോൾ ഹേബിയസ് കോർപ്പസിൻ്റെ ആ ഒരു റൈറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അത് സസ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള റൈറ്റ് പോലും ആർക്ക് കൊടുത്തു? ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിന് കൊടുത്തു. ഓക്കെ, ആൻഡ് അഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് ദ റൗലറ്റ് ആക്ട് there came the Rowlatt Satyagraha, and it was the first countrywide agitation by Gandhiji. Rowlatt Satyagraha. Next came the Khilafat movement in 1920. After the First World War, the Muslims were agitated by the treatment of the British with the Turkey. So there was a war between British and Turkey. Already stated that, and the British treated Turkey very badly, and Muslims were agitated by this, and after this the Khilafat movement came into effect. So the Ali brothers, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, started this Khilafat movement, and they jointly led by Khilafat leaders and Congress. Khilafat leaders and Congress led the Khilafat movement then. Next came the non-cooperation movement in 1920. The non-cooperation movement. Okay, so it was passed in the resolution in Calcutta session, and that was happened in Calcutta session, and that was in September 1920. So there was 1920 Khilafat movement, and also the non-cooperation movement was in 1920. So they passed a resolution in Calcutta session of INC, and it was the first mass-based political movement. It was the first mass-based political movement by Gandhiji. Okay, and by the non-cooperation movement, it means that the main officials, the Indian officials were they gave their resignation from honored positions and boycott of the British courts and boycott of the foreign goods, etc. Like this, the non-cooperation movement started. Then the Chauri Chaura incident, and that was in 1922. INC at Allahabad, the International Congress at Allahabad session, in the Allahabad session in December 1921, declared about the civil disobedience movement, and in 1921 they have decided to conduct a civil disobedience movement, but that doesn't happen at that time. That doesn't start. The civil disobedience doesn't start at that time, but the people were agitated and they broke out some revolt in Chauri Chaura at a place called Chauri Chaura, and the revoltees burned 22 policemen and in 5th February 1922. And Gandhiji withdrawn the non-cooperation movement on 12th February 1922. Okay, so then this was called a Chauri Chaura incident. Okay, then the Swaraj Party in 1923. So the Swaraj Party was actually presided by, or the main leaders are the Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das and the N.C. Kelkar. Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das and N.C. Kelkar, and they are called as the pro-changers. Okay, and the Swaraj Party ended the boycott of Legislative Council and enter and expose them. So these leaders told the people that we need to end the boycott of legislative councils and enter the legislative council and expose them. Next is the Simon Commission, and that was in 1927. It was by John Simon. Okay, it was put forward by John Simon, and that was to review political situation in India. The Simon Commission was to review the political situation in India. The Indian leaders opposed the Simon Commission, and Lala Lajpat Rai was severely beaten in lathi charge and succumbed to death. Okay, after the Simon Commission. Okay, the Simon Commission was in 1927. So the main question is the year 1927 by John Simon. That is why the name Simon. Okay, and that was to review the political situation in India. Next, the Nehru Report. That was in 1928. After boycotting the Simon Convention under the chairmanship of Motilal Nehru and Tej Bahadur Sapro, the Nehru Report was presented, but it was failed actually. It has been planned to evolve and determine the principles of Constitution of India. Okay, the Nehru Report was planned to evolve and determine the principles of Constitution of India, but the Nehru Report was failed. That got failed. Then the Lahore session. That was in 1929. Okay, 19th December 1929, Lahore session. The presidency of J.L. Nehru, that is Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, and in the Lahore session in 1929, INC declared Purna Swaraj, the complete independence, as its ultimate goal. Purna Swaraj as its ultimate goal. Tricolored Satyagraha. Tricolored flag adopted in 31st December 1929. 31st December 1929. 26th January 1930 was fixed as the first Independence Day. In that session, in the Lahore session, tricolor flag was accepted in 31st December 1929, and in 26th January 1930 is fixed as the first Independence Day, and later it was chosen as the Republic Day. We know that 26th January is chosen as the Republic Day. And then one important movement is Dandi March. It is also called Salt Satyagraha. It was started by Gandhiji from Sabarmati Ashramam on 12th March 1930 to break the salt law. It was done to break the salt law by British, and he picked a handful of salt and inaugurated the civil disobedience movement. Okay. Then came the civil disobedience movement, the countrywide mass participation by movement. The civil disobedience movement was followed by countrywide mass participation of women. Garhwal soldiers refused to fire on the people at Peshawar. Garhwal soldiers refused to fire on the people at Peshawar, and this was also the effect of the civil disobedience. Then the first round table conference, that was in 1931, the first between British and Indians, considered as the equals, the first meeting or conference between the British and Indians in which they were considered as the equals. And it was happened in 12th November 1930 in London, and to discuss the Simon Commission. For roundtable conference was to discuss Simon Commission. Then the Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim League both participated in the first roundtable conference. Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim League both participated, but it was failed. It was failed because of the absence of Indian National Congress. Okay. So thank you for watching this video, and the next part will be uploaded soon. My throat is not functioning properly. It's very painful now. That's why I am not uploading frequently. So kindly